Hey guys, it's your boy 14 Fluffies here. Today I'm bringing you a card discussion on Chain Disappearance. I've recently been going through the cards I've had, and came across this. I know that it was being cited for a while in the OCG for Monarchs, but I've taken a second look at it and realized that it actually could hit a lot of cards in the meta potentially. So that's kind of why I'm beginning to test it in my side deck for heroes, and why I think this card is good this format. So, as this card reads, when a monster or monsters with 1000 or more attack is summoned, banish that monster or monsters with 1000 or less attack, then your opponent banishes all cards with the same name as that card from his hand and deck. So yeah, so this card is obviously very good against Monarchs because you could obviously hit the Vassals, Edia, and Eidos, but it hits all the Vassals basically, but I'll talk about that later. So yeah, basically, if you can hit a card that's a 3 of with this, and it's a major key component of their deck, you pretty much win. But these are only a small number of examples I could think of. So we have a fairly decent amount of the Burning Abyss deck that gets hit by this. Obviously Graph is at 1. Obviously Tour Guide gets hit by this, but Tour Guide's an ignition, I believe. Tour Guide triggers on summon, so you're still going to get your BA from deck, so there's no point of really hitting Tour Guide with Chain Disappearance, unless Tour Guide was at 3. Then you definitely want to Chain Disappearance Tour Guide, but since Tour Guide's at 1, it doesn't matter. I mean, Graph is just good enough just to banish. I mean, it's not an ideal use of Chain Disappearance, but it's a good 1-for-1, and it's definitely something I would settle for. It also hits Farfa, which is a great card to hit, just because that thing's annoying, and normally, with Beatrice out now, Farfa's normally like a 2 of or 3 of now, and it hits Skarm, which is definitely a 3 of, which is definitely something you want. It also hits Dante, which is also phenomenal, but the way Chain Disappearance is ruled, you can only get 1-for-1s out of extra deck monsters. You can't actually banish the other copies of that monster from the extra deck. That's just how it's ruled, but yeah, I mean, if it could, this card would be amazing against Burning Abyss, because anytime they just summon out Dante, you'd Chain Disappearance, and then they would have no Dantes left, but oh well, that's not a thing. But it's still really, really good 1-for-1 removal for Dante, especially considering how it's banished. So yeah, and it also kind of hits Phantom Knights as well, the fact that it hits Dante, but it also hits the main Phantom Knights. So yeah, it hits all the level 3 Phantom Knights, and what the fuck, damn it, Facebook. Yeah, it hits all the level 3 Phantom Knights, and it hits one of the level 4s. The only reason why I didn't put the level 4 one up here is just because the level 3s are the only ones that see consistent play. I've seen some people not play the level 4s, and I've seen some people play the level 4s, but yeah, Chain Disappearance pretty much hits every Phantom Knight. It also hits a small amount of the Atlanteans. It definitely hits Neptibus, which is the one that you definitely want to hit. I mean, it also hits Heavy Infantry, which is also nice, but you typically want to hit Neptibus. I mean, you could also hit Diva, but it's pretty much the same thing as hitting Tour Guide, though, because they're just going to be getting out Neptibus anyway, and you want to just hit Neptibus regardless, because it's just the best card to hit out of Mermail. And, of course, obviously, it's great against Monarchs, because it hits Edia and Eidos, it hits all the Vassals, and yeah, it banishes all from deck. It doesn't hit anything in the Quantum Engine, unfortunately, but you can't really ask for more, I'm afraid. Another card it hits is Dragon Pit Magician. I hate Dragon Pit with the passion because it's just too good at removing back row. This card makes me salty, but yeah, it's a great way of dealing with if your opponent Pendulum summons it. You can just banish it and banish all 3 copies from the Pendulum Magician's deck. It's great. And this card is, oh my god, the shit versus Raid Raptors, because, I mean, it doesn't hit like the main engine stars like Vanishing Lanius and Fuzzy Lanius. Actually, no, Vanishing Lanius, Tribute Lanius, and Mimicry, but it still hits things like Lastrix, Fuzzy Lanius, Singing Lanius, and it hits Forstrix, Blaze Falcon, and Rise Falcon. I mean, Forstrix is pretty much the one you always want to hit with it. I mean, of course, like if they have Icarus Attack, they could chain it, but I mean, yeah, since obviously they're chaining to activation, they could just chain Icarus Attack and then just send the Forstrix to the graveyard, and obviously Chain Disappearance will fizzle, but if they don't have the Icarus Attack, you can just banish it, and then they won't get any searches, which is nice. And obviously, if they go for their Lastrix, since Lastrix is not Chain Link 2, I believe. I mean, is spell speed 2. I don't believe it's spell speed 2. So, yeah. Yeah, it's a spell speed 1, so yeah, you can't chain Lastrix effect in response to Chain Disappearance, so yeah, there's that. And with when we get Ultimate Falcon, obviously this will be much better at stopping Ultimate Falcon from coming out because you're just banishing it. Fuzzy Lanius, it stops all that. If it goes to the graveyard, obviously it searches. So yeah, so it's good at stopping that, especially since it banishes it. And obviously that it just stops all the spamming play. It hits heroes pretty hard actually because it hits Bubble Man and Shadow Mist, the two main heroes of the deck, and it also hits Summoner Monk, which is pretty much one of your key combo pieces in the deck. So yeah, if you can hit any of these cards, you're pretty much set to win. If you hit Shadow Mist, you're going to beat heroes because the deck can't really do much without Shadow Mist really. And heroes don't play cards like Bujinte Amaterasu or Levier or any way of getting back banished heroes. So yeah, if you hit them with Shadow Mist, you're guaranteed to win. It also hits Infernoid Decatron, which is also really nice. I mean, this one was a little bit harder to think about, but it does actually hit Decatron, and hitting a Decatron out of Infernoids really hurts, just because you're getting rid of their main way of dumping cards into the graveyard outside of reasoning. So yeah, if you can get that, they lose the biggest portion of their toolbox of the deck. I mean, obviously they could put it back into the graveyard with Omega, but they want to be able to summon the Decatron though. So yeah, obviously that just stops their plays. I mean, Decatron will still trigger to dump, but it's going to be off the field anyway, so it's going to get banished. So you'll get the dump, but you won't be able to get anything else out of it. And obviously this card hits a lot of Yang Zings, because a lot of Yang Zings have 0 attack. I mean, obviously, every Yang Zing is played or played at 3 of. I mean, the Zephyr Yang Zings don't play 3 Big C, and definitely don't play Pulau. I mean, they do play 3 Zephyr Nui, and they do play 3 Jiaotu, but yeah, they don't always max out on the 0 attack monsters in Yang Zings. And this card hits a lot in DDDs. And yeah, even though half of the stuff is still OCG exclusive right now, it still hits this Chain Disappearance still hits the majority of the OCG support as well. I mean, so much of the DD lineup is under 1,000 attack. It's actually really surprising how extensive Chain Disappearance would hit DDDs. But yeah, obviously if you hit the little guys, they can't get out the big guys, and the big guys are what keep their engine going and keep them plussing and pretty much all that stuff. So yeah, and also the bigger guys also keep them from burning to death from their own contracts. So if you keep them from getting to there, you're really putting them under pressure from them burning from their own contracts. So yeah, another card it hits, Archfiend Eccentric. I think that's a really great card that it hits, just because you don't want to deal with that too much. And obviously since this thing, you activate this on summon, if they summon it until, I don't know, like pop, if they have like a Dark Claw on board and they try to pop your Dark Claw with it, on summon you just Chain Disappearance it, and if they have any other copies, it gets banished out of deck. Same thing with Rescue Hamster. Obviously, now that Dark Draco Pals are a thing, people are playing Rescue Hamster. It's also seeing play in Ignites, and even in Dynamist. Like, any Pendulum deck that can use Rescue Hamster is playing multiples, so that's a good thing, because you can hit it, and then that stops them from plussing, basically. Another card I also put in here was Utopic Future, just because that card can really bone over the Cosmo players. So if you side this for BA, I would highly recommend siding this for BA, because if they make this, you can stop it right there, since it will obviously not destroy it, since it just banishes it straight up. And so you just play around it completely. So obviously, Solemn Strike does the same thing, but but this is just like a secondary countermeasure. I mean, I wouldn't want to say I'd want to Solemn Strike a Dante. Like, I'd want to Chain Disappearance a Dante, because it's going to get banished. I mean, the materials are still going to fall off and trigger if they weren't special, but that doesn't really matter, because you're taking a 1v1 off a Dante, which is super, super sweet. But yeah, tell me what you guys think of the card. It's definitely worthy of me side decking, especially since I finally have a second copy of it. But yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.